Hello and welcome to another episode of Warhammer 40k Imperial Guard Tactics with me, Oddworld Inhabitant, as your host. So today we're going to look at putting everything together that we've learned over the last few videos. It's not going to be the last video in the series, but it's everything that we've learned so far, and we're going to put it all together, and we're actually going to, well, build a list, essentially, for competitive play. So it's important to very quickly outline what I mean by competitive play. I mean tournament. You're going to a tournament. We're talking a standard sort of ETC, ITC format, 6 games across 1 to 2 days, 1850 points. You're going to have missions are going to be a mixture of Eternal War and Maelstrom. There's going to be kill points involved. There's going to be tertiary objectives, primary, secondary, and tertiary objectives. A proper tournament scene. And the kind of lists you're going to be facing are going to be, Wolfstar or Warcon for Scutari or Searstar or Farsight Bomb potentially. Riptide Wing is always going to be up there. Scat Packs. Those kind of things. Competitive lists. Okay. And I'm going to put forward what I have personally used to actually beat, the composition of units that I have used to beat these lists. Or at the very least, give them a bloody good, thumping. Maybe I didn't win, but we all know with Imperial Guard that I can't, that we're in a tough place. I can't promise you from watching these videos, and if you follow everything I've said to the letter and you play the best you can possibly play, I can't promise you victory. Let's be realistic before I jump into this. The Imperial Guard is a tough army to win games with, but it's not impossible. We are not the bottom tier codex that everyone says we are, and we can still make people, make an eyebrow raise on our opponent's face, make them step back. And I've personally gone into tournament games. My opponent has gone in, he's laughing, he's confident. Oh yes, I'm glad I got this draw. I've had team games where my opponent actively gets to pick who they fight on our team, and one of them's picked me because he thinks he can fucking take me on because, it's only Imperial Guard. And then he sees what I'm rolling out, and by turn 2 or 3, he's got sweaty palms, he's shaking, he's rubbing the sweat off his chest, he's taking a swig from his beer. He's scrambling around, grabbing dice. I call it putting the voodoo into someone. Putting the fear of the Emperor into them. Making them rue the day that they thought the Imperial Guard were an easy army to beat. So like I said, I can't promise you that you'll win every game. But, we've got to face facts here. Guard are not top tier. But you will. I guarantee you'll do better. And I guarantee that people will give your army some respect. Okay? So now actually on to the point of the video, which is how do we do this? How do we put this list together, this force together, this pure infantry force, or the very least super infantry reliant force. First thing we're going to do is we're going to slap on 2 sources of orders. And we're talking about senior officer orders here. Okay, fuck off the tank commanders for now. I know everyone goes on about Paskin a Punisher. With all that rending goodness, he'll rend anything away. Fuck it, right? I tell you what happens to Pask. Storm Surge shoots a D missile at him, kills his bodyguard, someone else shoots something at him, Pask dies. Okay? Problem with tanks is, look, even if they just get a basic pen on Pask, and they just get a 1 or a 2, he's stun locked. That's it. No more shooty for Pask. So fuck off Pask. We're not going to go into what we're not going to do. We're going to concentrate on what we are going to take. So you're going to take 2 sources of orders. I personally recommend 2 company command squads because it's cheaper. And remember, squeeze every point. My preferred loadout for a company command squad is company commander, no upgrades, or a bolter, just to give him 24-inch range. Nothing wrong with that 1-point upgrade. So we'll say company commander with bolter. Veteran with regimental standard. Yes, you'll see later on that we are going to have a lot of blobs going around, but don't forget your company commander isn't fearless, and your platoon commanders aren't fearless, and if you know any of those individual squads that you have running around aren't fearless, you need the regimental standard to keep your guys in place. So good for 15 points. Never leave home without the flag. Okay, so you've got your commander with a bolter, a regimental standard, and a las cannon. Las cannon in there because you've got ballistic skill 4 veterans. It's going to be, these company command squads are going to be your only source of ballistic skill 4. Make sure you take advantage of that. Don't give them a mortar. Don't, you know, if you really squeeze for points, missile launcher. But I highly recommend spending the extra 5 points. Go for the las cannon. Okay, and the last guy, you either take him bare bones, nothing, just a las gun, and you make sure he's at the front of the unit, and he dies, and it doesn't matter. He's the first one to die. You don't care. Or personally, I like to give him a sniper rifle. Now, sniper rifles aren't great, but you're putting it on a veteran, so it's ballistic skill 4, so it's more likely to hit. In this age of monstrous creatures, when you're shooting your las cannon at that riptide, it can be helpful to have that extra shot that wounds that riptide on a 4, potentially rending. And for 2 points, you're not going to be breaking the bank. And it's not a wasted upgrade, because 50% of the targets you're going to be shooting that las cannon at, your sniper rifle is going to be able to help out. So let's go through that again very quickly. Commander, bolter, regimental standard, las cannon team, sniper. In total, that should come to about 97, 98 points. Less than 100 points. Take 2 of those. Less than 200 points. Now, if you want to take Commissariat, you can, but like we've coded before, he's expensive. He does bring a lot to the party, but you're taking your company commanders more for their ability to dish out orders and less for their ability to do damage. Okay? So you've got 2 company commanders. Now what do you go? Elite section? Forget about it. Don't even go to it. Fast attack, heavy support? Don't even go to them. You're going to focus on one area now. Troops. Veterans? Nah, forget them. The rest of your army is going to be made up of infantry platoons. Okay? Now, you're going to be taking lots and lots of infantry. You're going to be taking lots of infantry platoons. And you're going to be taking lots of conscripts. However, it's really important to get the loadouts right. And it's on your infantry squads. And it's really important to get a fine balance between the number of infantrymen squads you have and the number of conscripts you have. It took me a while to learn as a foot guard player. I used to love just taking bare bones platoons and blob after blob of conscripts. And I never got tabled, but I would always struggle to actually do damage to my opponent's army. Okay. So, you're going to want to take 3 infantry platoons. And the minimum you're going to want those at are 40-man platoons. Okay? 4 infantry squads. 45 if you include the platoon command squad. Okay? So you're going to take 3 of them. You're going to take a minimum of 40. You can actually get away with taking 50, but we'll say 40 for now. You're going to put in your first platoon 4 autocannons and grenade launchers. Okay? This is your anti-infantry platoon. Okay? You should not really be using this to shoot at vehicles. Your other 2 platoons are going to handle that. Okay? So you're going to take 40 infantry minimum and 4 autocannons and 4 grenade launchers. Right? Honorable mention to the heavy bolter here. If you are really hard, not necessarily hardcore, but absolutely certain you're not going to be facing, or you're not going to use this platoon to shoot anything other than infantry, take the heavy bolter. I am actually very much warming up to the heavy bolter. The extra shot is definitely worth considering, because a number of times I've shot my 3 heavy bolter shots and I always miss with 2 and hit with 1. A number of times I shoot my autocannon and I always miss with both. Okay? Or I have missed with both, I should say. So, but I would personally recommend for tournament play the good old-fashioned, age-old autocannon grenade launcher combo. That has served guard players well for 3-4 editions now. You can't go wrong with it. that is your taking on infantry platoon. Second platoon you're going to take, again, 40 men minimum, can go up to 50. You're then going to take 4 missile launchers and 4 grenade launchers again in this squad. Now the reason missile launchers is because they are very versatile. You can threaten. Now I normally don't like units that can, or weapons that jack of all trades, master of none, but I quite like the missile launcher in this missile launcher grenade launcher combo for 2 reasons. One, it gives you anti-tank. Don't underestimate missile launchers. Missile launchers with bring it down will reliably knock hull points off your opponent's vehicles and your opponent's monsters' creatures. Now missile launchers aren't that great versus Riptides, let's not forget that. But against every other monsters' creature out there, they're absolutely fine. Against those Morlocks popping up. Tyranid Morlocks are competitive, okay? You don't often see them because the rest of the codex shit. Or Flyrants. You know, if you manage to ground a Flyrant, throw 4 missiles at it, Prescience, Twin Linked, bring it down, that's a dead Flyrant. And the best bit is you're saving 5 points a pop. Now, it might only seem like 5 points here and there, but put it this way, you save 5 points across 5 missile launchers, per missile launcher for 5 missile launchers, that's 25 points. That's almost 10 extra dudes you can field on the battlefield with conscripts. That's almost 10 extra dudes, 10 extra wounds, 10 extra shots. Makes a difference. The second reason I like it is because it actually is really, really good for anti-infantry. Because if you've got 4 missile launchers and 4 grenade launchers, you're putting out 8 small blasts from 1 unit for relatively cheap. So almost you'll find yourself, launching out 8 blasts from 1 unit. If you've got some sort of, it doesn't have to be horde coming at you. It doesn't have to be a horde. It's just, let's say you've got a full squad of enemy tactical marines. They've just got out of a rhino, they're part of a gladius formation. More than likely it's going to be 5 from a razorback, but then you do get 10 in a rhino, or 10 marines have dropped out of a drop pod. They haven't had a chance to fully spread out yet. You launch 8 templates at them, you're going to knock out half that squad. Then you chip in the extra fucking 30 lasgun shots if you're in rapid fire, 60 lasgun shots. Or if you're shooting at infantry with these guys, you'll probably put first rank fire, second rank fire on them. Bam. You can wipe out a full squad with that 8 blasts and a load of lasguns tactic. Anyway, moving on. So your first blob is dedicated anti-infantry. Your second blob is a jack of all trades but with hefty anti-infantry potential. And your last blob, I always recommend a minimum of 50 in this squad. Okay, 50 in this platoon. 5 las cannons, 5 melter guns. Okay, a lot of people will say, why are you putting melter guns in a las cannon squad? Okay, one is 12-inch range, one is 48-inch range. Okay, this is why. Las cannons are going to sit at the back of the unit, and everything on some high ground, so they can see see all the targets they need, or with at least an open view. Your rest of your men are going to move forward, leaving a small trail of guys, so that the las cannons are never moving, and you're still taking casualties from the front, and you're going to move forward, and by about turn 3, you'll be in melter gun range, or turn 2. If they're coming at you, within melter gun range. Last tournament I went to, I faced down 3 Imperial Knights. Not all in one army, admittedly. It's 3 at a time. 3 over 3 games. There you go. 3 over 3 games. Every single time, the Knight player would get shot up by 5 twin-linked tank hunter las cannons. Would shit himself, go, fuck, I don't want to take that again, and try and get into combat with me as soon as possible. So he comes charging towards me on his turn 1 and his turn 2, comes right round to my turn 2 or 3, he's already down 3 hull points, and suddenly he's got fucking 5 metal guns in his front. Or, if you're clever, spread them out across the whole wide frontage, you're probably going to have 2 going on his front, and 3 going on his side, or 3 on his front, and 2 on his sides. That means you've got 2 metal guns without any kind of without him having the iron shield up. Very useful. I took out, anecdote. Imperial Knight, part of a war con, came running at me. I purposefully had all my metal guns on one side, all my las cannons on the other side. He got up to me. He was so focused on the las cannon shooting that when I asked him, "Where's your shield?" for my third turn, second turn, correction, my second turn of shooting, he said it's on the front. He'd only taken 2 hull points at this point, and I'd shot 4 missiles and 4 las cannons at him, 5 las cannons at him. He saved all the las cannon on the iron shield, but 5 metal guns went through, thanks to Twin Link. Bam! Just dead. Fucking dead. So it is worth it. Alright? I've this isn't my term, but it's one that I've borrowed. I call it the melter hedge tactic. It is very possible. Anyway, melter hedge. We'll get onto the melter hedge later. Right? So there are your 3 platoons. 1 dedicated anti-infantry, 1 dedicated one jack of all trades, 1 dedicated anti-tank. Caveat here. It is perfectly acceptable if you have the points to take all 3 as las cannon, melter gun platoons. Okay? I don't recommend it because then you're spending 80 points. I've done it, and it's 50% I do recommend it, 50% I don't recommend it. Okay? And if you do, you take 3 40-man, 4 las cannon, 4 melter gun platoons. Okay? And this is what I was talking about a second ago with the melter hedge. Because what happens is you're firing 12 twin linked, plus your 2 company command squad, 14 twin linked las cannons at them a turn. All 2 of them aren't twin linked, but the list is still 4, so it's kind of similar. 14 las cannons at them a turn. The enemy is going to want to do as much as possible to stop that, and his instinct is going to be get into combat with you. He comes running at you with his Death Star, and suddenly that Death Star is facing down an additional 12 melter guns. Okay? It's called the melter hedge. You're a prickly hedge. Okay? So that is my other recommendation. But no matter what, you're taking these 3 platoons and you're taking these 2 company command squads. Now, the next most important thing is to keep those platoons from running away. So we're going to go to the non-force org slot of the CAD, which is 3 Primaris Psychers. Okay, minimum 3. And then you also want 3 Commissars. Okay, now straight away I'm going to get some raised eyebrows here. Some of you are going to say, Commissars and Psychers, they don't mix. Okay, this is why I was telling you to take 40-man platoons instead of 30-man platoons. Because the ideal platoon blob size is 30 men. 30 men gives it enough durability, but allows it to have a degree of flexibility. 40-man blobs are just slightly too unwieldy, slightly not maneuverable enough. You'll find you end up being squashed a lot. What you do is you take 40 men in a platoon, you blob up 3 of the squads, you keep 1 squad separate. Okay? And you put your Primaris Psyker in that separate squad. You don't want to put him in the platoon command squad because that's only 5 extra wounds, but you want to put him in your regular infantry squad. Okay? And that squad's going to be behind, in cover, the platoon. So the minimum is going to get it to 5-up save. You know? Minimum it's going to get to 5-up save. Potentially 4 because they're in ruins. Okay. And then you put your Commissar in the blob. So your Commissar's in the blob. He's making them pseudo-fearless. But they're not actually fearless. So they can still go to ground for bonus cover saves. You can still order them to get back up. So that's why you take Commissars. And the Primaris is safe. He's got an additional 10 wounds around him. Oh. And guess what? Some of you might be thinking, yeah, but he's not fearless. No. But he's Leadership 9 re-rollable thanks to that regimental standard you took before. So you can see everything synergizing here. So, and guess what? If your Commissar who's leading the blob gets sniped out, and your blob suddenly becomes not fearless, that's alright. Regimental standards keeping everyone together. It's called redundancy. As guard, you must utilize redundancy. So, that's the bare minimum of what I recommend to be competitive. 2 company command squads, 3 blobs, 1 dedicated to anti-infantry, 1, this is if you're going pure infantry by the way, 1 dedicated to jack of all trades, 1 dedicated to lads cannons. However, if you have the points, make them all las cannons, metal guns. Okay? If, that's not a bad idea. But I personally prefer the one of each strategy, but I have run the 3 melter gun las cannon ones. Okay? Now, you'll have some points left over at this point. Each one of those platoons should be rocking you about 300 points. Oh, I've forgotten. Platoon command squads get 1 upgrade. 1 of 2 upgrades. My preferred one is a single bolter on the platoon commander. Take advantage of his ballistic skill 4 and the fact that now you've got 5 shots at 24-inch range rather than 4. Okay. Second option, if you're making a static gun line, give your platoon command squad a single mortar for 5 points and sit them out of line of sight behind cover. That squad only has, across 6 turns of shooting with that mortar, only has to kill 1 fucking Space Marine to get 3 times the points back for that mortar. Okay? Mortars are really good, but you don't want to put them in your main infantry squads because your main infantry squads are going to be doing the main amount of damage. Mortars are great for harassment, but you shouldn't rely on them. Anyway, so that's my second. They're the 2 choices. I prefer the bolter one because it allows you to stay mobile, run these guys around up and behind your squads. But if you know you're going to be gun lining, sit back and lob that mortar shell every turn. Remember, you're lobbing 3 mortar shells a turn, 1 each platoon command squad. Okay, so you've taken your 2 sources. You've got 2 company command squads, 4 orders a turn, plus 3 platoon command squads, 7 orders a turn. You've got 3 psychers, 3 opportunities for prescience a turn. You've then got your las cannons for killing tanks, your missile launchers for killing tanks and other, big things still, and your autocannons for killing everything else. And 8 grenade launchers and metal guns. What are we missing though? Because at this point, our list is only 120, 145, 151 guys. That's not enough. That's not enough at all. Conscripts. This is where you're going to get some real tasty shit. I recommend 2 blobs of conscripts of a minimum of 40 guys per blob. Okay, I don't recommend 3 units because if you're taking 3 units of conscripts, you're probably taking points away from somewhere else. And conscripts have only got 2 jobs. 1, they almost double the size of your army. You're taking 80. They increase the size of your army by 66%, roughly. Okay? So, you've got a lot more bodies on the field, which is quite intimidating for your opponent. He's seeing 200 plus guys. Every tournament I go to where I run my 200 plus guys infantry list, my opponent goes, I don't know how I'm going to chew through that. It's like it's rehearsed almost. It's like I'm living in the Truman Show. It's like every single one of them goes, I don't know how I'm going to chew through that. And instantly, doubts in your opponent's heads. The voodoo that I was talking about before. You've put the fear of the Emperor into him. You're making him doubt himself. He's just thinking, oh, what the fuck? Oh, there's no point in even trying. I'm never going to kill all of it. I'll just kill as much as I can. So he's already, and so either he's given up. Well, not given up, but he's got doubts in his head. Or option 2B, whatever it is, he's going to see it as a challenge. I want to kill all that guard. I want to be the guy that tabled the 250 guardsman list. Or, whatever. The 200 plus guardsman list. And you can use that to your advantage because you know how he's going to react. Wolfstar players love to try and table you. They love to try and table you. Okay? They'll do anything to try and table Wolfstar. It's the kind of mentality that a Wolfstar player has. He thinks he's got this fucking dominator unit and he wants to ram it down your throat. Well, he's got to chew through 221 guys, whatever, before he gets to ram it down the company commander's throat. Anyway, so conscripts. It's key not... This is where the fine balance comes in. You need enough conscripts to make an effective human shield, but too many and you're detracting from your firepower. Conscripts don't really kill very much. They can pull off miracles. They can do amazingly, but generally you'll find after turn 2 you won't have any of them left. And if that's the case, if you get to turn 3 and you've lost every conscript, but your regular infantry platoons are unscathed, that's perfect. That's exactly what you want to have happened, because your opponent has just spent 3 of their valuable turns out of potentially only 5 killing 145 points of models times 2. 2 blobs with 2 commissars in. Okay. Now the reason you're going to take commissars is because you want your conscripts to be sounding off first rank fire, second rank fire every turn. Every turn. Okay. So that's what your list's going to be like. So visualize this in your head. Okay. Visualize your deployment zone. We'll just use Dawn of War deployment zone now because it makes it easier to visualize, but this is easily applicable to the other types of deployment as well. You're gonna often, because it's a tournament, you're going to want, unless it's something like Wolfstar, where you know he's just going to deploy in a big blob, often you might want to go for an alpha. It's difficult to say, but often you're going to want your opponent to go first, or at the very least deploy first, because then you can counter deploy to him. It doesn't always go to plan, but you're going to deploy. The first thing you're going to do in your deployment, so you've got your 2 blobs of conscripts, 3 blobs of infantry, and 2 company command squads. Okay, first thing you're going to do is deploy. You're going to measure a deployment zone, and at the very front you're going to put both conscript blobs. Make sure there's 2 ways of deploying them. One, you deploy blob 1 all the way across, 2 inches spaced apart from one end deployment zone to the next. And then you deploy blob 2 exactly, so that's one line, exactly the same behind blob 2. Behind blob 1. So you've got 2 lines of conscripts. This means your opponent has to spend 2 turns chewing through conscripts before he can even get close to you. If it's an assault army, turn 1 they move, turn 2 they munch blob 1, turn 3 they munch blob 2. If they kill everyone, turn 4, turn 5 is all they've got left. Turn 4 and 5 for Wolfstar, that's when you start going for objectives. So they've spent the first 2 turns killing shit units, and now they haven't even got to your army. Okay, anyway. Second option, you deploy 1 blob halfway across your deployment zone in 2 or 3 ranks, and the second blob on the other half of your deployment zone, 2 or 3 ranks. So you've got a wall of conscripts in front of your army, but this gives you a little bit more flexibility. The problem with strategy 1 is if you get 1 bad difficult terrain roll or 1 bad movement, difficult terrain, it slows your whole army down. What if you only get, difficult terrain, you get double 1, your movement phase is 1 inch a turn, great. So both ways have their merits. Deployments, conscript line 1 is more protective but less maneuverable. Conscript line 2, they only have to blast through 1 unit of conscripts before they start getting to the meat of your regular infantry behind, but it's more maneuverable. Either one is perfectly acceptable. Behind that, you're going to deploy your blobs in 3 distinct blobs: 1 on the left, 1 on the center, and 1 on the right. Okay, 3. Let's say you've gone for platoons of 40, so blobs of 30 with a 10-man reserve squad. 30 men with the autocannons can go anywhere. 30 men with the missile launchers can go anywhere, because they're your jack of all trades blobs. It's really important to make sure you deploy your Las Melter squad against their biggest, baddest thing, aka Imperial Knight or Wraith Knight. If you're facing Riptide spam, doesn't really matter where you put them. You're going to have Riptide to shoot either way. So you've got lines of conscripts up front, blobs of infantry behind. Now, 3 platoon command squads. You want 1 on the far left, 1 on the far right, and the 3rd one wherever the hell you can fit it, because deployment zone is going to start getting pretty full now. Sometimes I like to have 2 on one flank and 1 on the other. Doesn't really matter, but 1 on each flank and 1 in the middle if you want. Company command squads, they go at the very back, in cover, preferably on high ground, so that they can snipe and issue orders to everything. They can snipe anything with las cannons and sniper rifles, and they can issue orders to anything in line of sight. Okay, recommend 1 on the center right and 1 on the center left. Okay, that because you've only got a 12-inch range unless you're in a special formation with your orders. So that should cover you. Remember, you can conga line back men to your company command squads, and you'll still be able to issue orders to the whole unit, even if only one man's in range of 12 inches. And your 3 individual squads, put 1 on the left flank, 1 on the right flank, and 1 in the center. Okay? The reason you're putting some on the left flank and right flank is what you're going to do is these are going to be running up the flanks. Your psychers are going to be casting psychic powers out, but you're going to be running up the flanks because you want one of each. You're going for 4 units going for line breaker then, and every turn they're just running up the flanks. 2 platoon command squads running as fast as they can, issuing orders. 2 infantry psyker squads running up the flanks, issuing psychic powers. So what you're going to advance. So how you're going to play this is you're going to advance very World War 1 style. Everything's going to move up. Everything's going to advance. Your opponent's going to hit either one section of your line or all sections of your line, but he's going to have gaps. You're going to where his lines are overextended. You're going to push through, and you're going to play to the objectives. You want to aim to have a blob on each objective, as by turn 4, turn 5. Okay, you want to make sure that you've got guys everywhere you can. And what you're going to see is this is the last thing I'm going to say. Your infantry will be moving forward, but you'll have like little snakes, little trails of men leading back to where they need to be. So you'll have a trail of men making sure that the heavy weapons can stay still. A conga line, as I call it. Have a conga line to the heavy weapons. A conga line maybe to the psyker squad. A conga line maybe to your company command squad. Maybe. And that's all right. Because it's only, you space those guys out exactly 2 inches apart. You're only going to be using like 6, 8 men to keep everything going. And then everything's in range. Everything's getting psychic buffs. Everything's getting order buffs. Your opponent's overstretched. You break those overstretched lines. You claim victory for the Emperor. I hope this was useful. I hope you've got a good idea of how I like to run my infantry lists. And I hope you can see how everything we've talked about has now been pulled together. We've given it an actual shape and an actual list. And you can see how effective, how much firepower you can put out. Thank you for listening. Please comment if you've got any questions. Thank you.